What if I told you the world is already in a Cold War, but no one officially announced it? A war with no bombs dropping, no soldiers marching, no headlines screaming conflict. Yet it's shaping your job, your phone, your future, and even what you see online every single day. And here's the tension. Unlike the last Cold War, this one isn't happening in the background of your life. You are inside it. The proof? Look around you, your apps, your data, global trade, AI, chips, even TikTok. Every single one is part of a silent battle between two superpowers. And the stakes? Whoever wins this Cold War won't just control territory. They'll define the future of technology, economy, and global power for the next century. So the real question is, how did we get here? And why didn't you notice? Let's go back for a second. When people hear Cold War, they usually think about the US and the Soviet Union, spies, nuclear threats, ideological battles. That conflict was loud, dramatic, and obvious. But today's Cold War between the US and China is different. It's quieter, smarter, more complex, and in many ways more dangerous, because it doesn't look like war. At first glance, the US and China seem deeply connected. They trade hundreds of billions of dollars in goods. American companies manufacture in China. Chinese companies sell products globally. Students, tourists, and ideas flow between both countries. So how can they be rivals? Because underneath that cooperation, there's competition. Intense, strategic, long-term competition. And it's happening across 5 key battlefields. Battlefield number 1. Technology. This is the biggest one. Whoever leads in technology leads the future. We're talking about artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, 5G networks, and cybersecurity. The US has long dominated tech innovation. Silicon Valley, major tech companies, cutting-edge research. It's been the global leader for decades. But China is catching up fast. China has invested heavily in AI, surveillance technology, and digital infrastructure. Companies like Huawei have challenged Western dominance in telecommunications. And here's where the tension rises. The US sees China's tech rise not just as competition, but as a threat. That's why you've seen bans, restrictions, and sanctions. For example, the US has limited China's access to advanced semiconductor chips, the tiny but essential brains behind everything from smartphones to military systems. Why? Because without those chips, China's tech progress slows down. And that's the game. Slow your rival, speed yourself up. But here's the twist. China isn't just trying to catch up. It's trying to become independent. Because relying on US technology, that's a vulnerability. So China is building its own ecosystem, its own chips, its own software, its own platforms. 2 systems, competing, and the world is being forced to choose sides. Battlefield number 2, economy. This Cold War isn't just about innovation, it's about money. China is the world's second largest economy. For decades, it grew rapidly by becoming the factory of the world. But now it wants more. Not just to manufacture, but to lead. Projects like the Belt and Road Initiative aim to expand China's economic influence across Asia, Africa, and beyond by building infrastructure, roads, ports, railways. On the surface, it's development, but strategically, it builds influence. Countries that depend on Chinese investment may align more closely with China politically. The US sees this as a challenge to its global influence. So what does it do? It strengthens alliances, reshapes trade policies, and tries to reduce dependence on China. You might have heard terms like decoupling or de-risking. That's what it means. Separating the two economies just enough to reduce vulnerability, without completely breaking apart. And here's where it affects you directly. Supply chains. If the US and China pull further apart, products become more expensive, less available, or slower to reach you. That phone you're using? The parts come from multiple countries, including China. So this Cold War isn't abstract. It's in your pocket. If you're starting to see how deep this goes, take a second right now. Like the video, drop a comment with your thoughts, share this with someone who needs to understand what's really happening, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because we're just getting started, and it gets even more intense from here. Battlefield number 3, military power. Now, unlike the last Cold War, the US and China aren't directly fighting. But that doesn't mean the military isn't involved. Both countries are building up their forces. China has rapidly expanded its navy. It's building advanced weapon systems and strengthening its presence in regions like the South China Sea. The US, on the other hand, has long-standing alliances and a global military presence. And here's where tension spikes. Taiwan. Taiwan is one of the most sensitive flashpoints in this Cold War. China considers it part of its territory. The US supports Taiwan's ability to defend itself. That creates a dangerous situation, because any conflict over Taiwan could pull both superpowers into direct confrontation. And remember, Cold Wars are supposed to stay cold, but history shows they can turn hot fast. Battlefield number 4, information and influence. This one is subtle but powerful. It's about controlling narratives. Both the US and China are trying to shape how the world thinks. Media, social platforms, global messaging, it all plays a role. China promotes its model of governance as stable and efficient. The US promotes democracy and individual freedoms. And countries around the world are watching, deciding which model they admire, trust, or want to follow. This isn't just politics. It's influence over the future direction of societies. And here's where it becomes personal again. What news you see, what apps you use, what content gets promoted. Even algorithms can become part of this competition, because controlling information means shaping perception, and perception shapes reality. Battlefield number 5, ideology. At its core, this Cold War is also about ideas, different visions of how the world should work. The US represents a system based on democracy, open markets, and individual rights. China represents a system where the state plays a stronger role in guiding society and the economy. Neither side is just competing for power. They're competing for legitimacy, for influence, for the right to define the future. Now here's the part most people miss. This Cold War doesn't have a clear beginning or a clear end. It's not declared. It doesn't follow traditional rules. It evolves constantly, and that's why you didn't notice it, because it didn't start with a single event. It built slowly. Trade tensions, tech restrictions, political disagreements, military positioning, layer by layer, until suddenly we're here. But here's the bigger question. What happens next? Will it escalate? Will it stabilize? Or will it reshape the entire global order? Some experts believe we're entering a new era of multipolar power, where the US and China are just two of several major players. Others think this rivalry will define the century, just like the US-Soviet Cold War defined the last one. And then there's the risk factor, miscommunication, miscalculation, unexpected crises. In a world this interconnected, even small conflicts can spiral. But there's also opportunity. Competition can drive innovation. It can push both sides to develop new technologies, improve systems, and solve global challenges faster. So this Cold War isn't purely destructive. It's complex, it's dynamic, it's still unfolding. And that brings us back to you. Because whether you realize it or not, you are part of this story. Your choices, your data, your attention, they all exist within this global competition. So the next time you hear about trade disputes, tech bans, or geopolitical tension, you'll know it's not random. It's part of something much bigger. A Cold War you didn't notice until now. If this changed how you see the world, don't just scroll away. Like the video, leave a comment with your perspective on who you think is winning this Cold War. Share this with someone who needs to understand what's really happening, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Because the world is changing fast, And the more you understand it, the better prepared you'll be for what comes next.